and I ask everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. It's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected.
Joe Biden speaking about recent accusations of election interference against Iran and Russia last night. The candidates were asked about national security, including how they deal with China and North Korea. Behnam Ben Taleblu is with us now. He's a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and focuses on Iranian security and politics. Behnam, we'll get to the threat from Iran and Russia in a moment, but I want to begin with your general takeaways from each candidate during the national security segment last night. What stood out to you?
Well, just as a personal observation, and great to be back with you, America's longest war, the war in Afghanistan, unfortunately was not mentioned, and an issue area in between both candidates, which, again, I'm fortunate enough to cover, which is the Iranian issue, and in particular the JCPOA, that's the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, where the candidates are basically 180 degrees apart, was also most unfortunately not mentioned.
Now, Biden noted last night he thought the president would be more outspoken against Iranian action, to your point, and his administration officials noted a specific case in which Iran was working to interfere. But many intelligence officials say Russia is a greater threat. Why is that?
Well, to borrow from, I think, Vice President Biden last night, the U.S. needs to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. And that's absolutely true when it comes to rank ordering countries that have a significant cyber capability or is also a significant information warfare capability. Yes, in terms of tech, in terms of money spent, Russia is probably qualitatively several leaps and bounds ahead of the Islamic Republic. But sometimes even the simplest attacks, phishing attacks, spoofing attacks, things that you see Iran do in a greater quantitative range, meaning they keep doing it until they can penetrate and target the weakest link in a chain and become successful, also matter. So Russia is a greater cyber power, but that does not mean that Iran is not at all a cyber power. So I think Washington needs to develop a better series of tools here, things that we call the gray zone, short of war and more than just talking, to address Russia and Iran's diverse cyber threats.
You know, we spoke yesterday about the election interference, including those threatening emails sent to some voters from Iranian hackers. How do intelligence officials know those were from Iran?
Well, there was a great story later in the day yesterday that broke from Reuters, if I'm not mistaken. And Reuters had actually cited several tech companies which noticed accidents. And again, this can happen when the entity, whether it's a government or an actor simply hosted in a country, engages in sloppy behavior. It was even reported that I think the IP address was visible on one of the screens that was uploaded to, I think it was Google Drive. And through there, they were able to go after the company that hosted the server. So what was reported yesterday and makes this a slightly different case from other cyber cases where attribution is challenging and can take a long time, reportedly they were able to capitalize on this mistake and engage in attribution rather quickly. And I think that one reason why is you saw a significant action by the Treasury Department going after Iranian actors that are tied to the Quds Force that engage in disinformation campaigns abroad. So this was a rather rapid turnaround for the public sector and the private sector.
One quick follow-up question to that. Do you think that mistake was intentional?
I think it's being debated in the press right now. My guess is no. Sometimes the Iranians even, they'll proliferate weapons to their proxies in the region so they don't have to get blamed for fighting and sending Iranians. They'll use Arabs, Afghans, Pakistanis. On the tech side, for instance, I think they actually do want to disguise their hand. In the region, they may proliferate a weapon which, clearly is an Iranian design, but they'll use a non-Iranian person to carry out the attack. Here on the tech side, I'm not sure. I think they really did want to disguise their hand, and ultimately, I think they were caught.
All right, Behnam Ben Taleblu with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you again for your insight.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.